pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I just want to say one thing that for all of the people in the room that I want to thank, especially our agencies, VDOT, especially GRTC. I mean, these folks, VDOT has been on the roads for the past 2 weeks. Round of applause. I do for the plowmen and the plowwomen that are out there that are doing that difficult work. Just want to say thank you. So to Dale, to you and to the crew, please pass our thank you on to those folks. And for those elected officials that are taking phone calls, at least this elected official, I will be visiting the ABC store in Ashland, probably because it has been a little bit challenging out there. So thank you for.
But not for our raccoon.
But not for the raccoon, that's right. So anyway,
It was challenging for him.
Yeah, it was.
it's challenging for him too, so.
He's an international star, so.
So thank you. And the other comment I just want to make real quick is for those localities, for everybody in the room that were part of the Peaceful Monks the other this week. I think they left from Texas, but they came through Chesterfield, they came through the city of Richmond, they came up through Henrico, Hanover, and then passed them on to the town of Ashland. And then they were on the Fall Line Trail too. So very exciting time for everyone. So thank you to those localities that were participating in that too. So with that, I'll turn it over for roll call, please.
Town of Ashland, Ms. Barnhart.
Present.
Mr. Malloy. Charles City County, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Adkins.
He's online.
Thanks, Sid. Chesterfield County, Mr. Carroll.
I am here.
Ms. Schneider.
Aye.
Mr. Miller. Hughesland County, Mr. Lyle.
Present.
Mr. Vaughters. Hanover County, Mr. Davis. Ms. Pritchard. Mr. Hudson. Henrico County, Mr. Cooper.
Present.
Chair Rogish.
Here.
Mr. Schmidt. New Kid County, Mr. Moyer.
Here.
Ms. Stewart. Powhatan County, Mr. Kinney. Ms. Morissette. Mr. McClung. Mr. Powers. City of Richmond, Mr. Breton. Dr. Newbill.
Here.
Capital Region Airport Commission, Mr. Rutledge. GRTC Transit System, Ms. Torres.
Here.
Ms. Adams. Richmond Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Ms. Dean. And VDOT, Mr. Totten.
Here.
Mr. Riblet.
Here.
CTAC, Mr. Dixon. Mr. Walton. Department of Aviation, Mr. Smiley. DRPT, Mr. Hudson.
Here.
Ms. Dubinsky. Federal Transit Administration, Mr. Koenig. Federal Highway Administration, Mr. Ofori. Mr. Rucker. Ride Finders, Ms. Ruffin.
Here.
And Mr. O'Keefe. Okay, we do have a physical one.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cruz. We do have two folks online that due to scheduling conflicts, we would like a motion for them to participate remotely. Dr. Newbill from the city of Richmond and Mr. Atkins from Charles City. So do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Moyer, seconded by
Second.
Ms. Schneider. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let's have it. Welcome, Dr. Newbill, Mr. Atkins.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public meeting. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make any comments to the board? Seeing none, public comment period is closed. Approval of the meeting minutes. We have two meeting minutes. We have October 2nd of 2025 and we have December 4th. If you remember, the December meeting was a joint meeting, so we didn't approve the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of
So moved.
October 2nd and
Second.
December 4th. Moved by Reverend Cooper, seconded by Ms. Schneider. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting minutes have been approved. Okay, with that, we will head to the regional funding for a TIP amendment, and I think Mr. Heller, is that right? Ms. Schickel is gonna present the TIP amendment.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's because Will's running the slides from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And this is for a TIP amendment change for the Northgate and interchange, and
Yes.
Henrico, go ahead.
Alrighty. So thank you so much and good morning, everybody. I am bringing y'all several TIP amendments this morning, and I will begin with I-64 at Northgate Road interchange. So this project is within the authorized project phase of our transportation planning process. This amendment is being requested by VDOT and will update funding for the new interchange project at the intersection of I-64 and Northgate Road. So this project would construct a new diverging diamond interchange at the mentioned intersection. In addition to the interchange project, it also includes new medians and auxiliary lanes. This project is part of a larger series of improvements in the short pump area. So here we have the tip block as provided to us by VDOT. And today we are asking the policy board to accept the technical advisory committee's recommendation and approve VDOT's proposed tip amendment. A draft resolution of approval is included in your packet on page 17. I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has them.
Just a clarification, but this TIP amendment requested by VDOT, but this is 100% federally funded.
It is not 100% federally funded.
Okay,
It does have a mixture of funding. And it is required for us to do the tip as part of the development of the project.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Todd. Any questions on this? Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Moved by Reverend Cooper,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Moyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Let's have it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
The second tip amendment is on from GRTC, and it's on page 18 in your agenda. Go ahead.
Oh,
Right.
All right, so thank you again. This is my last set of tip amendments for y'all today. These requests involve both new and existing GRTC projects. So again, these projects are within the authorized project phase of our transportation planning process. GRTC is making the request for us to amend our TIP to update funding for an existing project and to add 2 new projects to our TIP. As you can see, the existing project is the renovation of maintenance and administration facility pavements. And the North-South Pulse BRT expansion project and the Western Pulse BRT extension projects are each the new projects. So I'll begin with the existing project, GRTC 056. So the requested TIP amendment would update funding for the renovation of pavement and parking services at GRTC's maintenance and administrative facility on East Belt Boulevard, excuse me. The current parking surface at GRTC's facility is 15 years old. And when a 2024 condition assessment was conducted, more than 200,000 square foot of pavement was found to be in fair or poor condition. So this project will utilize full depth reclamation to minimize the discarded materials, and it will also make improvements to the paved surfaces for buses and passenger vehicles, as well as upgrading the current paratransit vehicle storage to fit full-size buses. All right, and again, we have the tip block highlighting project funds. And this will move us into the first set of the new projects. So the first of the new projects I'll bring you is the North-South Pulse BRT expansion. This project represents the next step following the North-South Phase 1 NEPA and is for preliminary design work. As you can see on the screen, the North-South expansion calls for 16 proposed station locations and would run approximately 12 miles from just north of Richmond at the Brook Hill Azalea Shopping Center to just over the Chesterfield County line near Stonebridge. Again, another tip block. And the second new project I'm bringing y'all seeks to add the Western Pulse BRT extension to our TIP. This project represents the next stage following the NEPA process and is also for preliminary design work. The Western extension will extend the current Pulse BRT line approximately 4 miles from Willow Lawn to just beyond Parham Road. The project also includes 8 station locations, including a new westbound station platform and additional dedicated BRT lanes, as well as a dedicated park and ride location. And the tip block again. So today we're asking the policy board to accept the technical advisory committee's recommendation and approve the proposed tip amendments. Draft resolutions of approval are included on your packets on page 24.
Any questions from members of the committee here? Again, this is a combination of federal, state and local funding. And an addendum to adjustment to the first project and then 2 new projects, so. Questions on the DRTC, folks? Motion to approve, anyone?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Schneider,
Second.
second by Mr. Carroll, I think I heard first. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, both tip amendments have been approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Next item of business are performance measures. And who's gonna lead this? Is this Mr. Mata?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Mata.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. All right, today we are bringing forward the proposed 2026 roadway safety targets for the region. This is an annual requirement tied to federal and state performance measures, and the purpose of this item is for the policy board to consider these targets for adoption as recommended by TAC. So I'll walk through the context, the approach we've been using, and then the proposed targets. Setting these targets is part of the outcome evaluation of our planning cycle before we again move to identify issues and solutions as a result of these assessments. So safety targets are set every year under the Highway Safety Improvement Program. The state sets statewide targets first, and MPOs then have 180 days to choose either to adopt them or set their own regional targets. All of these measures are based on 5-year rolling averages, and that is important because it means that any single year, good or bad, has limited influence on the target number for this year. So the 5 required measures on the screen, as you can see, are fatalities, fatality rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, serious injuries, serious injury rate per 100 million VMT, and non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries combined. Historically, there have been 2 basic ways to set the targets. One is purely data-driven, where targets move up or down based strictly on recent trends or forecasts. And the other is vision-driven, where targets are set to decline regardless of short-term trends in order to reinforce long-term safety goals. In 2025, the policy board adopted a hybrid approach that combines both. And for 2026, staff are proposing to continue this approach. So where data shows worsening trends, we hold the line rather than raising targets, and where data show improvement, we allow for modest declines that align with state assumption and regional goals. So this first graph focuses on fatalities, and this is, as a reminder, this is overall fatalities. The proposed target for 2026 is 107 people killed, lower than the state's target of 115. This is the target that was set the previous 2 years, reflecting the 5-year average from the 2018 to 2022 period, which was the recent low point before fatalities began to increase in the region. So rather than adjusting the target upward to follow that increase, the Region has chosen to reaffirm this benchmark until it is actually achieved, and the intent is to avoid planning for failure and to clearly signal that increases in fatalities are unacceptable, even if recent trends are unfavorable. So before moving on, I wanted to put this 107 number into a little bit more context. So let's just assume that we had 0 fatalities in 2024, which is the next available year of finalized data. That means that we would have a 5-year average of 102 people killed, and that's shown by this simple math here. The actual number of people killed in 2024, according to preliminary data, is 134. So with this preliminary 24 data, that would bring the hypothetical to roughly 130 proposed fatalities using the state's target reductions. But instead, we're holding the target of 107. So what does this all mean? Throwing out a lot of numbers. So it pretty much means that safety targets are safety targets are based on 5-year averages that are limited in their usefulness for just discussing current safety concerns because they intentionally smooth out recent changes. So by design, the 4/5 of the value is driven by past conditions, which means sudden increases or decreases in fatalities are muted or delayed in the target numbers. So when safety conditions are changing quickly, the target can lag behind what people are experiencing on the ground, making them feel disconnected from recent crashes, community concerns, and day-to-day conditions managed by local staff and first responders. Lastly, I want to acknowledge that to many people, it simply feels inherently wrong to talk about adopting a target of 107 deaths on our roadways or hundreds of people seriously injured. And it can seem contradictory or even disingenuous to advance these targets at the same time. We're talking about goals like Vision Zero or towards 0 deaths. And honestly, that reaction is understandable if these numbers are viewed in isolation without broader context of how the 5-year averages work and the many years of data that sit behind them and influence them. So that's just why I felt it was important to go through how we got to this number. So with that said, for serious injuries, the proposed 2026 target is 833, and that aligns with the state target. Serious injury data finalizes faster than fatality data, so we have a slightly more current baseline here. The longer term trend has generally been flat to slightly declining, and the proposed target assumes a modest annual decrease in line with the state's approach.
Serious injuries, they went to hospital, is that, or what is, how is that defined?
Yeah, generally it's requires hospitalization, things like
A transport or something?
yes,
Via
and
ambulance.
usually involves like broken bones, severe burns,
Okay.
people that fall into a coma.
Okay.
So this next slide addresses combined non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And the proposed 2026 target is 108. And similar to serious injuries, recent trends have been relatively flat with some year-to-year fluctuations. And staff are proposing to match the state's target here as well, maintaining consistency with statewide assumptions, while reinforcing the importance of improving safety outcomes for people walking, rolling, and biking. So to summarize, the proposed 2026 targets continue the same policy direction that Region has followed in the past 2 years. We're holding the line on fatalities, allowing modest declines where data support them, and aligning with state targets on overall serious injuries and combined non-motorized fatality and serious injuries. And as a reminder, these targets acknowledge data lags and the limitations of the 5-year rolling averages, but they still serve as an important policy signal that reducing deaths and serious injuries remains a top regional priority. And one quick note about BMT that this proposed number is based on the state's assumption of a 2.51 annual growth in vehicle miles traveled. And lastly, as a little bit more out of context, these targets, the region recently completed a white paper that establishes a framework for a regional safety messaging campaign. So that work sets the foundation for a more detailed development over the next few months and into the next fiscal year. And that'll involve support from a dedicated regional safety messaging working group, marketing professionals, local artists, and broad public involvement. And at the same time, staff are in the process of updating the 2022 regional safety plan into a more proactive regional safety action plan. And that effort will put these targets into clearer focus and connect the numbers to specific strategies and investments aimed at reducing deaths and serious injuries across the region. So with that, staff are requesting the adoption of the 2026 safety targets following tax recommendation for approval. If approved, the next step would be to submit these targets to VDOT, which would then provide statewide and regional numbers to federal highways. You can view the draft resolution on page 28 of your packet for consideration. And one note, there is a small typo in the table of the resolution that says 2025 instead of 2026, but that would be corrected in the final resolution. So with that, I'd like to open the floor to any.
Are there any questions from the policy board? Yes, Ms. Schneider?
Not a question. I
Statement.
just feel that it's a perfect opportunity to not, if we didn't recognize it, that we lost Bill Martin to fatalities, and he was such an important person here in the community, and not that that lessens anyone else, but I mean, his services or his memorial service will be this weekend, and I can't, it's hard to think about the community without him. So yeah, it's home pretty quickly.
Quick, I have a question. It looks like if you can go back a couple slides to the fatalities, it looks like around 2013, the average really started to creep up. I guess that slide, yeah, 2014, 2015, the average started to tick upwards, where the other ones are at least flattish or going down. What's the theory on on that?
Well, the number is largely influenced by pedestrian fatalities. So overall, the region is getting safer in regard to fatalities. But that's kind of an outlier and getting a bit worse.
And obviously this does not factor in population increase as well. So
these are just overall.
we may have added 100,000 to the overall region, but okay. Are there questions from the policy board on this? As always, yes, Mr. Lau.
I just want to make sure on that 28, it does in the block, it says the 2025 target, it's that, but we're keeping it to 2026.
Yeah, that would be corrected.
Okay, I wanted to, and then I concur, setting, let's see if we can get 107 people killed is kind of not a good goal setting thing, but I also understand if we set 0, the reality is accidents happen, and we know that there will be an incident of fatalities, and I appreciate that we are working towards that 0 fatality, and as it was explained to me last year, if we were to set 0, that would not be accepted by some of the, I guess, federal and state folks, because it would not be realistic. And so we need to be realistic in setting these goals. So I like the fact that we're staying level, even though mileage is going up and population is going up. I have a degree in economics, and so you can make statistics show just about anything you want. We've successfully predicted 5 of the last 3 recessions. So there's opportunities here. I know in Goochland, we have found somewhat on Ms. Schneider's question, a reporting standard for what is a serious injury as to whether or not it included transport to a hospital or simply treatment at a site. We saw an uptick in some of our serious injuries. I don't know if we're sourcing from local sheriff or police departments on this, or what our source is on serious injury data, but not purposefully, but we may at Goochland have contributed a little bit to that increase because of how we start to report data differently. I don't know if there's a uniformity across the region as to how serious injury is reported or not.
Yeah, well, all these numbers come from DMV data, which is
Our
taken
sheriff is a
from,
little more,
local crash reports and
we see a discrepancy between DMV and the local sheriff's department, but I'm appreciative that we are maintaining, and in some respects, by maintaining, we're actually improving our goals because we have more miles being driven and we have more people. So I still wouldn't mind if we were to get aggressive and say 0, but I understand that reality is reality. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Carroll.
I'll just say that the FR 300 data, that's the report that officers are required to file, is now done all electronically and submitted electronically to DMV. And I would hope that the data is only good as whoever's putting it in, right? So if an officer fills an FR 300 out, I filled up plenty, and they don't put the right information in as far as the nature of the injuries, then and then it could give you a false report on that particular one. But most of, at least in Chesterfield, all of our reports, once submitted, are then checked by a supervisor and then checked off and sent to DV. So I'm hoping that in the region, our people are trained well enough to fill the report out right. I would hope so.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Carroll. Any other comments? It's always been a little bit of this is a very unique issue for the past 3 years that I've been on the board. And I just want to commend staff for the thought and the methodology of putting this together. So we would all like to see 0, but excuse me. But the reality is exactly what we see. So with that, we do need any other questions from the group on this? We do need a motion to approve these safety targets. So moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Moyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, the next item on your agenda is the proposed amendment to bylaws. And I think if you check in your packet, there is a little QR code on the table, and I think Sid was maybe gonna put it up behind us there to highlight some of the changes in there. And I think Ms. Schickler, you're gonna cover this area, right?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is back to you. We've been talking about bylaws amendments for many months now. No real changes other than hopefully strengthening some language around expectations for notification. Should a member be absent for a meeting and how staff would handle that and that notification in the event that votes need to be transferred to another member or another alternate. Overall, we're just attempting to bring the bylaws into conformance with what we understand to be preferred better practices. I'm happy to walk through the changes if Cindy, you want to pull up the actual document, or if everyone's had a chance to look at it, I'm happy to also Mr. Gregory is online as well to answer any questions that anyone has.
I think there are only a couple of changes. If you wouldn't just brief everybody on each of those,
Sure.
if Sid can pull that up. And again, if folks want to look at it online, there's a QR code on the desk that you can pull it up as well. Thank you, Sid.
That one works.
Say again.
That one works.
This one does work. The one in your packet is not, the link is broken, but there is a printed one, so.
You can make it a little bit bigger for me, Sid, I would
I
appreciate
think
you.
you have it highlighted.
Sorry. Thank you. So if we'll scroll to the first section where there are changes. Page 4.
And I'm sorry, as a reminder, we need to approve this in 2 consecutive meetings, so.
Correct,
This
yeah.
is the first of the first meeting to review this.
Yes, so while we're getting to that section, that as Chair Robish said, the steps of the process to amend the bylaws are to have amendments presented at 2 consecutive meetings. After that second vote, at the second meeting, the bylaws would then go into effect following that second vote in March.
Right there.
Yeah, so if you wanna, I'll call your attention to that. So, essentially the quorum session, we're just, addressing the definition of that. And clarifying, I think in some public bodies, vacancies are factored into the calculation of the quorum. For us and in our world, but if there is a vacancy, that's not factored in, so. Is there another section? So then this section is with regard to that alternate. So in the event that there's an alternate, they're allowed to cast the votes of an absent voting member, and this text just clarifies how that process will work. I think Ms. Schneider, when we had the meeting last, there were some concerns, and so we worked with Chesterfield staff to come up with what we thought would be a process. Recognizing that this policy board meets early in the morning, and oftentimes it's probably not very easy to be able to line that up before when the meeting is starting. And so we wanted to be able to extend as much flexibility to members to be able to accommodate that node, but then also to be able to let us, as you saw this morning, to be able to kind of accurately count the votes that would be present in the room. And so, I think the ideal situation is if a member knows that they will not be able to attend the meeting, they would line up their assignment of their votes to either their alternate or another member of the body who's already planning to attend. That's not always possible. And so the thought is that in the case where, particularly where that advanced coordination isn't really feasible, we would rely on the executive committee member, if they are in fact present, to be the person carrying the votes of the absent member. And certainly if the executive committee member is the person absent, then we would just go down the line of the next. And so, each of you are in a little bit of a different situation as it relates to the number of votes that your locality has and how you've allocated them. And so we tried to make this text as relatable as possible to each of the scenarios for the 9 local government members. So that's what that section's about.
Okay.
The next section is, again, just this sort of notification. I will say that I'm the MPO secretary, just for clarity on that. And the idea is that even if, when we say prior to, we really mean prior to the start of the roll call. So even if you walk in and there has to be a bit of a discussion, we are comfortable with that. We definitely recognize that, again, given the morning meeting, that may or may not be always practical to give a lot of advance notice.
There's a typo there. That if advance notice is no given.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. We will correct that before we would bring it forward for the second reading. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Gregory called that a Scrivener's error. And that's the end of the sections. So those were the two points I think that were sort of raised as part of the concerns at the last meeting. The other amendments to the bylaws are all still incorporated into this version that you see as far as cleaning up the assignment of the votes for the CTAC to match the proportionality with the voting members, and the alignment of the notification of the packets being published 8 days in advance instead of the 10 days in advance. I think that's the bulk of the substantive changes. Mr. Gregory, did you have anything you want to add? Or also, I'll just note he's online to answer questions if anybody has them.
I don't have any further comments. Ms. Schickel, thank you very much for running through that. Happy to try to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Sure. Board, any questions? Mr. Carroll?
So how does this differ from the procedure before? Because what I understood before was each jurisdiction sent a letter in that who would be an order of voting to represent their people if they were not there. So the only thing I see different here is that we want to make sure we have a prior notification to that. But essentially, the voting mechanism is going to work the same, with the exception of absentees, which we never voted for before anyway.
The language on prior notification was stronger in the current version of the bylaws that are in effect. And so we were attempting to soften that in the amendments that are proposed. It is true that localities, so in the example of Chesterfield County, your membership, you've got three members who are assigned the 4 votes, and you have an alternate. I think the question has come into effect that if the alternate wasn't aware that he needed to come to represent a vote of an absent person. So I'll use today's example. Dr. Miller's not here. He's your alternate. Dr. Hilton's also not here. We wanted to be able to create a mechanism that Mr. Hilton's vote could still be represented by by one of the 2 other voting members.
I thought it already was.
So it wasn't clearly aligned with how the bylaws read. So we're trying to bring the
Okay.
bylaws into kind of, to your point, what I think localities have already identified as reasonable practice.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Lau.
Unfortunately, I may be trying to create a problem so it can be solved, which is not my intention, but the way it says the member will notify. So if the member's not here, but the person who's going to cast the vote is here and says, oh, Mr. Waters isn't here, I'm going to be casting his votes. That's not the member, that's a member, not the member. Again, I may be getting angels to dance on the head of a pin, but it's never been an issue, but we're gonna put it into a process. I guess we ought to understand the process. So if the member's not here, he or she is not gonna notify that they're not gonna cast the votes, but the person who's gonna cast the votes is here. Is that a concern? And we seem to be a very congenial group, and I don't know that there's discord that somebody's gonna challenge that, but
Yeah, it's a good
we're going
point.
through the process,
I
so I
think-
guess I should ask.
Yeah, I think our goal was to be able to anticipate multiple scenarios where there may be instances where a member is unable to attend a meeting and they know that with enough ability to communicate, I won't be able to be at the meeting. That there may be time to notify a colleague or not, and so we wanted to create sort of the space to be able to allow for that to happen. There could be an instance where again, I'll use the Chesterfield example this morning because it's fresh. Dr. Hilton was able to notify us that he wouldn't be here today, and he was able to notify colleagues that he wouldn't be here today.
No, staff did.
Well, you know what I mean, so
So
he
the
knew,
words that he brought up
right,
actually makes sense in the sense that the way this is written, it's the member's responsibility. So the member actually has to do it as opposed to getting staff to do it for them. And so I would just say that it should be somehow a way to incorporate both of those things.
okay,
Because right now, your words are correct. It says the member is the sole responsibility for that. So if Dr. Hilton called you and said he couldn't make it, then he filled that obligation. But if Susan Wilson called you and said he couldn't make it, that obligation wasn't actually filled based on the wording of this language.
okay. What would you
Miss
like it to be?
Ms. Schickel, we're talking about section 5, correct?
Yeah, so do you want to pull the document back up?
So it does say members must notify the MPO secretary if their votes will be represented by their designee or alternate prior to the start of the subject meeting. If advance notice is not given, we'll correct that NO to not, the MPO secretary or their designee will assign the absent members' votes according to the instructions provided by the jurisdiction at the time of the appointment. So there is that safeguard there. Okay, so if the notification is not given, I understand that we may want to change it from members or their representatives must notify the MPO secretary. That may be a welcome change, but I think there just to allay concerns, there is a safeguard there for the secretary to have the fallback to the original designation. Does that capture the concern or address the concern?
I'm happy.
I think it does.
I think it does, yes.
Would you like, so.
I'd
add
make
the
a motion to
language?
amend the language in here around 2 points. One would be correct no to not. And the other one would be to add member, the language that Mr. Gregory just said, members or representative of the organization.
A motion on the table to make 2 amendments as stated by Mr. Carroll,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Lyle. Before I call for a vote, does that need to, are those significant changes that would run these bylaws back through for the first time, next time?
No, Mr. Gregory, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the motion today could be to include the proposed changes that Mr. Carroll outlined as the action, which would then move the document forward for its second reading in March. Am
That's-
I?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's my
And to
intention.
clarify, that is your motion.
Yep.
To do that, Mr.
Yep.
Carroll, seconded by Mr. Lyle, all in favor of that?
Alright.
Opposed? Okay, so we have approved the first reading of the bylaw amendments on
Okay.
February 5th. The final one will be with those amendments, the final one will be on the
And
next meeting.
Mr. Gregory, can you just for my clarification, if another change were to be identified in March, is that allowable, or is this the version that must be approved in March?
If such change were akin to, as you said earlier, a Scrivener's error or clerical error in non-substantive, then I would say we'd be fine in making that change at the second reading. If it's a substantive change, I would at that point recommend that it go back through the process. I hate to say that, but I think if it's substantive, then it would require another look back, another round of review.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gregory. Ms. Schickel, work status.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the update.
Sure, I'll just reference it that was included in your materials. We've submitted our request for reimbursement. I think DRPT, thankfully, thank you, have already approved it. And so things are moving along from a work production perspective well according to plan. As you all know, we've got a number of pretty large initiatives occurring this year with the long-range transportation plan and our critical deliverables. I know Mr. Ivan Rucker is going to talk a little bit about that later in the meeting, but that's there for your reference and has already been submitted to our state and federal partners.
Already been submitted, okay. We need a motion on this?
No.
No, we
No
don't. That's
action.
just no action. Okay, any questions on that? With that, we will go to our committee and partner agency reports. We will, go ahead.
I'm gonna do the CTAC update since
Yeah.
Chair Dixon's not here.
Okay.
Sir Walton was also not present. So I'm just gonna give the CTAC update for you all. So on behalf of CTAC, they wanted to let the policy board know about the upcoming symposium on Friday, March 13th. The CTAC is gonna be bringing a delegation to support it, and it would also appreciate your support of this event. I have sent out some registration emails, so you may have already seen it, but if you haven't, there is a flyer out on the table where the agendas are. Yes, thank you, Ms. Schneider. So please feel free to grab a flyer and please share this with your networks. It's also, of course, on our website. You can find all the information there and on our, I believe, Engage page. But check those out and register if you can. We'd love to have you. And if you're not able to make it, CTAC and Plan RVA would also just love your support if you can share it to your networks.
And where is that meeting?
It is going to be at the Richmond Times Dispatch headquarters in Mechanicsville. It is from 9 to, I think, 4-ish, and lunch is provided. And it's focusing on housing needs and transportation opportunities in the region. I think the agenda is getting firmed up right now, so I would say, I don't want to say anything else in case the agenda is not totally firmed up. But yeah, it's focusing on housing needs and transportation opportunities in the region.
Any questions for CTAC? Thank you. And you're gonna do the TAC as well?
I was not planning on
Okay.
doing the TAC.
You basically acted on the items that they advanced,
Okay.
so there's not much
Nothing else?
report else, otherwise, I don't think.
I'm seeing no, so. Mr. Rucker, Federal, how are you today?
Doing wonderful. Hope everyone's well. Happy New Year, everyone. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you.
As Martha mentioned, well, let me first start by saying we appreciate staff's ability to or willingness to accommodate us on such a short turnaround for the upcoming compliance review. And I think I mentioned this several meetings ago that there would be a compliance review that is statutorily required. The federal statute requires the Secretary of Transportation to conduct compliance reviews of MPOs that serve large metropolitan areas, large urbanized areas. Basically, Richmond urbanized area, there are 2 MPOs that serve the Richmond urbanized areas, Richmond MPO and the Tri-Cities of Greater MPO. So we will be conducting, again, such a short turnaround, a compliance review of the Richmond MPO on the 24th. And a compliance review of the Tri-Cities MPO on the 25th. I noticed that I have my colleague.
Sorry, it's reverse.
The reverse, okay, so 24th and 25th?
We're the 25th.
25th, Tri-Cities on the 24th. Thank you, Martha. I appreciate it. I noticed that my colleague, FTA is on the line, Dan. We have agreed to have, in this case, have FTA take the lead in conducting the compliance review. Federal Highway will be co-lead for the reviews. I mentioned that the law requires the secretary to regulations, then in response to federal statute, delegates that responsibility on behalf of the secretary to the Federal Highway Federal Transit Administration. So that's why the Federal Highway Federal Transit Administration will be conducting the review. We do anticipate in this instance, because we have a short turnaround, that the review will be more focused. Typically, the reviews are a day and a half, 2 days. This review will be a day for each MPO. We'll be meeting in this case because you have Community Transportation Advisory Committee, and I can meet with them. And of course, federal statute requires us to engage the public as part of these compliance reviews. So both from the Richmond region and the Tri-Cities region, we look forward to receiving comments and as well as meeting citizens of this region to hear from them about transportation related activities. Because the review is also, shall I say, because the process is also, we call it a 3C process. Certainly the NPO does not fulfill its responsibilities alone. It requires the participation of the transit agencies as well as the state. For example, when building your long-range transportation plan, you need revenue projections from the state to do that. Sometimes we do ask questions related to your financial plans, your revenue projections. So it would be good if we have participation from the state as well as the transit agencies at both certification reviews. Again, we want to express our appreciation to staff for their willingness to accommodate us on such a short notice. The results of the review, or shall I say, you shall know the results of the review at the March meeting. The general results of the review in terms of certification. As it stands right now, from my standpoint, MPO is doing an excellent job. Obviously, the certification review gives us an opportunity to look a little bit more into the weeds a little bit and ask more questions about the process. But speaking from my standpoint of being a member and a participant at this table, certification, you have anything to worry about, but there may, in terms of findings or recommendations to improve your process, that's something that sometimes we determine as we start looking a little bit more deeper into the weeds. Dan, if you're online, if you want to add any additional comments, feel free to do that.
Thanks, Ivan. Good morning, everyone. Not too much more really to add. Also, just to extend our thanks in advance and for all the support to get us to the site visit itself here at the end of the month. Ivan, just one thing I think to clarify. I think we were discussing sharing some preliminary results with the policy board members here in early March. That might be too early because that will be meeting in a hybrid format for this site visit. The week before, I think we had circled the April 23rd policy board meeting, which we understand also coincides with Maria Zimmerman, the new DRPT director, gives us a little bit more time. So that was, if I'm not mistaken, Martha, the policy board meeting we had circled. Then for Tri-Cities, we had circled April 9th to give some findings or preliminary findings or maybe complete findings to their policy board. So we do look forward to the process. It is collaborative. I think, as Ivan indicated, he has a lot of years of experience in meeting and understanding the workings. We think of these also as an opportunity for the MPO to demonstrate areas that they think they're doing really well in and you know, might be setting national standards of perspective. So it's a typically very, very lengthy process due to some staffing related things. We're working on a little bit of collapsed timeline, but we're rather confident we'll accomplish everything. Well, we will accomplish everything in the timeframes that we need to. So look forward to it. I'm not sure who from FTA will be there in person yet. It might be myself or it might be our planning director, but either way, very excited. So thank you, Ivan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you both. Any questions? Thank you both. We look forward to helping and supporting anything we can do on the 25th and look forward to the results in the next month or so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll also add, in
Yes,
terms of
sir.
your grant, we received the first progress report from your staff. Excellent job, well done. We approved it. So you do the good work towards accomplishing your goals with respect to your.
Sounds like you just gave us the compliance review. Thank you. Results are in.
There we go.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. DRPT, anyone? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 6 short updates to share today. First one is FY 27 5303 application.
We're good.
Those close on May 1st. Did you VDOT want to go?
No, go ahead.
That's on me. I had so many notes written down from there that I missed one. So we'll continue with rail. We'll get back to you, Mr. Todd. I apologize.
No worries.
Sure thing. May 1st is the deadline for the MPOs to submit their 5303 applications. We will provide all the MPOs with the apportionment tables once that information is available to us. Normally we have about a 1-week turnaround to get that information out. We're hoping to receive that generally in the March-April timeline, just as a heads up to everybody. If MPOs are working towards putting together their UPWPs in advance of that schedule, we always recommend to continue to use the previous allocations as kind of a round numbers to hold in place to kind of build those until the final numbers are available. DRPT state grant programs closed on February 1st. We are deep into grant review in what looks like to be a historic year in terms of the number of applications and the amount of funds requested from our transit agencies and other partners. We will be reaching out to applicants requesting additional information and coordinating any needs that we have when it comes to our grant review period. So stay tuned for communications from DRPT. We're excited to announce that the 2026 Coordinated Human Service Mobility Plan is scheduled for release on February 17th. This is a statewide plan that deals with our Coordinated Human Service Mobility program that is primarily funded through federal dollars known as FTA Section 5310. We had a very successful plan engagement. We engaged over 300 service providers statewide and 200 users of 5310 service across the state. The plan is broken up into regions and contains distinct actions and takeaways for each of what is referred to as a CHISM region. So there's a lot of details in there for those agencies to use when they are looking to improve the way that they provide services to their constituents. Another thing, we all are aware that this is kind of the bridge year that we are developing the new TIPs and the STIPs. That those are for the federal fiscal year 27 through 30. DRPT has provided MPOs with preliminary numbers for the transit side of the TIP. And we are working to coordinate any changes with the MPOs as they proceed with review and adoption of their TIPs and TIP documents. We are asking that our transit agencies and MPOs make a concerted effort to make any changes to the current federal fiscal year, which is federal fiscal year 2026, by March. This is in advance of a deadline when the draft STIP, which is the statewide summary of all the MPO TIPs, is transmitted to the federal agencies for their review. If there are specific tip or STIP questions, please reach out to me and I'm happy to answer those. Last item of note is this spring, we will be kicking off engagement around the statewide rail plan. This is a federally required statewide plan. I think we do it on a 4-year cycle, and stay tuned for more information as things get spun up there. Lastly, some staffing updates. I think everybody's aware that we had an election. We have received new appointments at DRPT. Our director, Maria Zimmerman, has joined us, and we have a new deputy director, Alan Fye, who's also joined the DRPT team. They're working to get out there and meet with transit agencies and engage the MPOs. Lastly, some open positions at DRPT. We've had a number of retirements. We have 2 positions in our Northern Virginia office, and we will soon have a position that we're going to be recruiting for a planner here in our Richmond office. So a lot going on, and happy to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you for the updates. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much for the updates. Appreciate that.
Thank
Ms. Chott, I do apologize. We go from the VDOT perspective. Go ahead, sir.
It's okay, Mr. Chair. It's a busy morning. Well, good morning, and I do need to say thank you for the earlier comments regarding our winter weather activities. It's been a busy couple weeks, to say the least, and looking forward to spring. Not for the potholes or the budgetary management we'll have to go through, but looking forward to warmer temperatures. A couple of program notes to start with. Most of you guys should be aware that our what we call our TAP program, or Transportation Alternatives Program, is going through its current application cycle. That's for FY 27 and 28. We're nearing the end of the scoring process. A couple of tidbits for you. There were 89 full applications received from across the state. The Richmond district received 20 applications. You may be aware the allocation for distribution to this body is about $4.7 million. Additionally, our CTB member, Mr. Davis, has an allocation of about $4 million to program currently. The VDOT staff and the staff here are working through the prioritization and scoring and developing a selection list that will be submitted tomorrow to our local assistance division. We'll then go through some updates with the CTB, and eventually the selected projects will be added to the 6-year plan in the spring of this year. So please stay tuned for more information on that. It will be coming back to you guys as a body for your concurrence. The other big program note is the infamous Smart Scale Round 7 is beginning to take shape. Just notifying you, I know your staff is keenly aware of this. March 2nd, Round 7 pre-applications will open. April 1st will be the deadline for the pre-application. And then June 1st is when the full application process will start. Certainly staff is available to assist with that. We had a very successful round last time. We're hopeful that through the partnership with the local governments, we'll have a good go round this time as well. I normally don't do a lot of updates from last month's CTB meeting, but it was kind of a Richmond district month. And I thought it would be worthy of sharing a couple activities that the CTB approved in January for our Goochland County friends. The limited access control change for the I-64 and Route 623 interchange were approved. That allows us to continue forward with our procurement process for the design build process. So that was a necessary step for the CTB. So that moved forward. It basically changed the constraints of the limited access for the interchange allows us to move forward. Also want to make you aware that the NEPA project that VDOT is managing on behalf of Chesterfield County for the Powhite Parkway extension. This is what the county refers to as phase 2, which is essentially from Woolridge Road down to Route 360. The location associated with that NEPA process for the environmental impact statement was approved by the CTB. Again, that's a necessary step through the NEPA process that the CTB has the authority to approve that. That action was taken last month. Need to make you aware, Chesterfield County was awarded a grant through the TPOP program last month. That's the Transportation Partnership Opportunity Fund. The governor directed $35 million to of the TPOP funding to CTB to allocate to Chesterfield County. And that we'll be working on what's known as the West Area Arterial Collector Project to support an economic development site in the Upper Magnolia area of the county. Then last item I wanted to highlight, I spoke on this a couple months ago that we're in the procurement process. I just wanted to follow up and say that the CTB did take action to award our what we call our next generation traffic operations data service that you guys may remember between ostensibly Bryant Park and Sliding Hill Road interchanges. We will have a what we call a data as a service being provided with installation of sensors, devices that will manage and predictively analyze traffic so that we're able to manage incidents in a more timely basis, shorten incident response times, decrease congestion caused by incidents. We talked a few months ago about this. It's the first of its date. It is a pilot project in the state. It is funded with our what we call ITTF funds, which is intended to be innovative funds. So we look forward to seeing that come online and that process moving forward. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. Glad to take any questions if there are.
Any questions from the group for VDOT? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Totten. Appreciate it again. Thank your staff and to the rest of the staff. Get your smart scale applications for round 7 going. So thank you very much for the updates. GRTC, Ms. Torres, how are you?
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
I just have 2 updates. Next week, we're starting 2 engagement efforts. Our February service changes are happening at the end of the month, and that will include some evening and weekend service reductions. We're currently recruiting for operators. We were about 15 below what is our budgeted amount. So we have classes this month and then the month after to be able to get to the level we need to put our service back. But just to kind of improve reliability, we strategically looked at evenings and weekends on a couple of routes. So we have a public meeting on Monday at the main library at 6 just to let people know it is temporary, so it doesn't really require like we did do an equity analysis, but that would be kind of the purpose of the meeting. But this is more so about outreach and engagement that this is coming. We'll also be doing pop-ups out in the service. We'll be writing routes as well as going to our transfer hub and Will on so people know about the service changes that are coming. We also are starting efforts related to our Title VI. Every 3 years, we have to do a service an equity analysis, which includes looking at our public participation plan. And so engagement for that survey wise will be an online one, as well as we'll have some boots on the ground. And that also starts next week. And that is due for our board to adopt in April to be able to be uploaded to FTA.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Any questions for GRTC?
It's not a question, but I would be remiss if I did not say publicly, thank you to Ms. Torres. She and her team labored in the vineyard on microtransit and really invested quality time helping us in Goochland understand what the options might be. We paid attention to what's going on in Hanover and in Chesterfield. And I'm going to give Goochland some props. We opted not to expend GRTC money on a study when we really weren't sure what the outcomes were going to be. So that money is going to be there for someone else to use, but we're not giving up on microtransit. We knew we weren't ready. And so rather than commission something that we didn't think was ready for prime time. So and then of course I have to ask about Route 19 as to how that is performing for us out there. If ridership is still healthy.
Yeah, that's still very, very
Okay.
utilized route.
We do have an Amazon distribution center coming in out in our I guess development corridor. And I know the folks at Amazon are interested in seeing GRTC service there. So that is on your radar, I hope, and we will pursue that with all due alacrity. So thank you again for your time on microtransit. just not today, but we're coming back. We just didn't want to waste time or money on that. So thank you again for your efforts.
Yeah, happy to support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lau. Any other questions for DRTC? Seeing none. RMTA, Ms. Dean, how are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing well, thank you. Good to see everyone here. I can report, I know that previously I've talked a little bit about the modernization of our system and our putting in all electronic tolling, our phase 1 of electronic tolling at the Poway Parkway. We are fast approaching our go live this month, the end of this month. We're targeting, of course, with Dale knows all the weather that we've had. We've had some challenges, but we are quickly moving through our schedule. If you have gone on the roadway, you will see that the large scale gantry has been placed. The equipment is on the gantry. We're putting some equipment down in the lanes. We are working on putting some additional cameras in all of our lanes so that on that go live date, we will be able to ensure that all of our revenues can be collected either by Easy Pass or pay by plate. So it's an exciting time at the RMTA, and look forward to reporting in March that we had a seamless go live.
Very good, Ms. Dean. And that's for the Poway Parkway. What's the next?
The next
schedule?
phase would be the Downtown Expressway.
Downtown Expressway is second, okay. Any other questions for Ms. Dean? Looking forward to the automated toll system coming in. Very good. CVTA, Mr. Parsons?
Morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a brief update. I just wanted to share a few dates with you all. The authority is poised at its February 27th meeting to hold a public hearing on our next round of regional funding. The pot that's being considered is just north of $131 million for a slate of projects that have been applied for by our locality members. There will be an associated public review period, which starts on February 11th and runs through the 26th. We are now lining up all of our media partners and distributions to share that public information so that all of our friends viewing at home, as well as those who may attend in person, can be informed and prepared for that February 27th meeting. I trust that each of your public information officers will have that information that can be shared internally as well. But that's my update. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Any questions, CVTA? February 27th is the deadline?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. Schickel, NRVA update.
Thanks. Just a couple of things to share with members here. I'll reiterate the announcement about the March 13th symposium. We would really probably very much appreciate if we can push information out to you to just generate interest among your constituents or organizations and partners that might be interested in the topics of particularly intersection of housing and transportation. So you should have already gotten at least one communication about it, but we would really appreciate you helping us think about how to amplify that in the communities that we represent. You all are absolutely welcome to attend. The content is really designed for that curious citizen that is curious about how this stuff works and how they could get involved. And we'll be having a pretty large component of the program focused on input into the long-range transportation planning process. The next day, in March 14th, we'll be at the Teen Summit, focusing that message in that way. And Kristen's, I know, doing a great job of thinking about how to try to make long-range transportation planning attractive to teenagers. So she's using hers in her household as use cases, I think, for that. So it's an exciting opportunity for us to be a part of that really amazing event. And I think there are pushing about 1,000 attendees potentially, or registrations, I should say, for that event. So that's exciting. Couple other things I wanted to just highlight that we don't talk about a lot here at the TPO, but is really pretty crucial, frankly, to the staffing support that we provide at Plan RVA. We've been undertaking over the last 6 months the launch of a new financial management system. So our go live date was January 1 of this year. And I'm proud to say that we are making our way through it with staff training to understand how to use the new system, this is a big technological advance, maybe not the same as moving to all electronic tolling, but it's a really big innovation for our organization. We're streamlining, moving from a patchwork of disconnected systems that were either, when I say system, that might be a generous term, that were maybe a stream of Excel spreadsheets in some instances, feeding into or coming out of QuickBooks, and then manual transfer of information into other systems. So we've got a fully integrated financial management system now, and it's really going to be able to increase our efficiency and efficacy of reporting, which is really critical. Just a very exciting time for our organization to be moving forward in that space. We had a core team of 8 staff members who really led that project, and so the rest of us are now getting brought up to speed about that work that they've been doing for the last 6 months. And we had a finance committee meeting yesterday to talk about more in detail those efforts, but it really does represent a big move forward for the agency. And then last, I'll just say, we've got our commission meeting kicking off 2026 next week. Regular time, executive committee at 8:30 and full commission at 9:30. The focus for the spotlight feature with advancing our regional strategy is a discussion about affordable housing. So if you're on that commission and you have a chance to peruse the meeting materials in advance, we've put together a pretty comprehensive set of support materials that give at least some grounding about what we see as far as how affordable housing is showing up in each of your communities and what Plan RVA has been up to the last couple of years to support various efforts. And then really we want to focus the discussion about whether or not there's an opportunity to consider the topic of affordable housing for inclusion in a work program. I think that that's really germane to this body because there's a lot of emphasis right now at the federal, national level about the connection between housing and transportation. And so AMPO, our national association, has launched a few learning opportunities, peer-to-peer cohorts, and I saw something with a technical assistance award. I apologize, I have a Thriving Communities maybe or something like that was awarded that we've been invited to participate in, that's really focused on how to integrate housing planning with transportation planning. So there's been a lot of emphasis over the last couple of years in this regard and really being able to help communities think about those two things together. So that'll be an opportunity to think about how we incorporate housing more fully into our transportation work next fiscal year.
Any questions from the group, Ms. Schickel? Seeing none? Very good. That concludes the agency updates. As far as other business, any comments from the core group? Yes, Mr. Carroll?
Mr. Chair, I would hope that everybody's been paying attention to some of the legislation that's being submitted down at the General Assembly this year, but just in case you have not. And this is a bill that actually is listed a reference to an MPO in it. Senate Bill 454. And it talks about affordable, it talks about multifamily residential development. And I'm gonna ask, how many people live in Ashland?
Roughly 7,800.
7,800. And how many people live in Gooseland?
All of them happy, 28,000.
28. How about you, Ken?
Same thing.
About 28. Okay. So in this bill, it says that the provision of this section shall apply to any parcel located within a city or town having a population of more than 20,000 that has adopted a zoning ordinance pursuant to 15-2280. So
And part of those kids, roughly 2,000 of those are with a college.
So you would think that Ashland would be excluded from that. But they're not, because the next piece of the language says, or any parcel located within a designated MPO pursuant to 23 CFR 45310, which means almost every jurisdiction in the Commonwealth of Virginia is included in this legislation. Now, it requires a locality to allow by right multifamily development on 75% of aggregate land in all zoning district classifications that permit commercial or business uses as by right uses, including those zoning district classifications that also permit single family residential by right. So I'll give you an example. if you have a, and it goes on a little bit more in the language, it talks about what the density could be. But if you have a piece of property that's been zoned already, and I'll use an example as in my district that's been zoned for residential for years, for multifamily. But it was limited in the zoning case to a certain amount of units they could put on it. This wipes out that limitation on that zoning case and says that they can then come back in, instead of putting commercial development, they can come in and 75% of the aggregate land can now be used for multifamily without having to go through a zoning process. So if you're not paying attention to some of this legislation, you really need to. This was dropped as a substitute with this additional language. And I don't think a lot of people caught the fact that because it added the MPO language, it basically incorporated almost every jurisdiction in the Commonwealth of Virginia in this. So if you're, and for any jurisdiction to say that this doesn't affect them from a budgetary standpoint or fiscal impact, there are very few jurisdictions that weighed in on this. Period, and some of them actually said there's no fiscal impact. I find it completely hard to believe that you will have multifamily dropping in all parts of your jurisdiction that you didn't plan for. And this basically says if a parcel was in 500 feet of another parcel that's already zoned for it, and the limitation on that is 20 units per acre, guess what? Now you have to allow by right 20 units per acre on that adjacent property. By right. How do you plan for schools? How do you plan for transportation and road networks? How do you plan for utilities? This is a nightmare in my personal opinion, but if I felt I needed to bring it up to make sure everybody's aware of it. Because if you haven't contacted your senator, you need to, and let them know that this is an issue for your jurisdiction. And if you're watching at home, you need to contact your senator and let them know this is an issue for your jurisdiction. I'm not against affordable housing. I'm not against development. But localities need to be able to manage that. And this basically wipes out comprehensive plans, certain sections of your comprehensive plan, because it takes away the ability of the locality to make those designations. It's bad. Mr. Chair, sorry, I had to say it.
Thank you.
Can I
Thank you, Ms. Carroll.
just to, we have been following this as well. And just as maybe a reminder for others who might be watching or following this, this is a big deal in our region because the MPO planning area includes the entirety of the Planning District Commission geography. So again, to echo Mr. Carroll's comments, it is without regard to any designated growth areas that localities may have identified. Any planning with regard to utilities and services, it puts all of our jurisdictions in jeopardy in thinking about what good planning for their community looks like and how the growth and development of that community should occur.
It could be a real big nightmare when you look at how many localities have already designated commercial properties that have adjacent residential numbers on them. We'll say 10, 15, 20 units per acre, that they planned on putting commercial in to service the people who've already moved in there, which is required in the zoning case, so that if you build a subdivision like Mag Green with 3,600 units, that you put some shops out there to service those people. Yeah. This basically gives them the ability to wipe that out and not provide anything, not to mention what it's going to do to congestion on the roads. It's just.
Who's the patron on that?
Van Valkenburg.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of it. And I'm sure those who are going to VACO this afternoon will probably hear about it as well. But in case someone's watching at home, you need to pay attention.
Any other comments from the board? I'll echo, and I just kind of follow Mr. Carroll. Today is sort of local government day. VACO's downtown, so I know that's where I'm going. After this, going down to talk to folks, and so I encourage everyone to try to stay as much as you can up to date on the bills that are being proposed out there, to be educated, talk to your constituents about those, especially the ones in this room that are related to transportation as we talk about it. So with that, any other comments? Yes, Mr. Moyer.
A few of us were at the Chamber RVA meeting today, and we noticed that on the new board of directors are Martha Schickel is now on the board of directors for Chamber RVA, so we have a voice in that. It's a very, very, very good organization. He's doing very well. And I appreciate your service for that.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
Appreciate that.
Excellent. Congratulations, Michelle. Thank you, Mr. Moyer.
It's a great board. It's
Good
good
board.
people on it.
Any other questions or comments for the board today? Okay, with that, we